Gina, I assume you're
Dang.
going to be watching the lobby to let late entries in.
Yes, we are. Yep,
Okay.
yep. But I think with that, we have about 12 people on and we'll continue to let people in. I just want to welcome everyone and thanks for joining our Lights On at 3 today. So our topic is Let There Be Light on Your Facade. And we're excited to have two industry experts with us. So we have Tim Bachman with Ecosense, and then we have Kent Flemming from TMB. And to get us started, we're going to go with Tim Bachman, and he's going to be reviewing. I have my notes out of order, so I apologize. The smartest, punchiest strobe LED facade lighting yet. So what with that, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the floor. But one small note to everyone: if you have any questions or comments, if you could please put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to during the presentation, but if not, for sure after the presentation. Okay, floor is yours,
Yes,
Tim. Thank you.
thank you. I'm not sure I've ever been referred to as an industry expert
You
before, but
are.
I appreciate the
At
confidence.
least today.
I'm glad you
Um,
said that before I did.
yeah. So, Gina, you read aloud because I won't see the chats pop up while I'm in
Okay,
these
I
screens.
will.
So
I'll
there
keep an
we
eye on
go.
it.
You guys don't see the team screen on the right side of my screen, do you?
No, no,
Okay,
we don't.
good.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I'm the Western Regional Manager for Ecosense, coming to you live from lovely Agora Hills, California, outside of Los Angeles here. I'm just up the coast from Malibu. So it's a nice hot day. Hope everybody's staying cool. But we're going to talk about how to light a facade. And there's a number of ways of doing this, and some of you may have more experience, so I apologize. I don't want to talk down to anyone, and I also don't want to assume you know something. So I'm just going to go general here. So let's take a look at what we do. So Ecosense, we make a lot of linear fixtures. So we're talking about linears, but I'm going to look at this in a profile view, and we're going to talk about two different techniques of lighting a surface, lighting a facade. And it basically boils down to grazing or washing. Now, the difference between grazing and washing is really the placement of the fixture. Is the fixture close to the wall? Is it not quite close to the wall, or is it actually far away from the wall? And so with the textured wall, like we're looking at here, this is the profile view, but this is actually what we're looking at in this stone wall. And as the fixture gets closer to it, of course, we're seeing lots of shadows, and that light is grazing across the surface, hence the term grazing. The further away you get, pardon me, the further away you get, the less shadowing you get until you're almost straight away from the wall. And now you've eliminated a lot of that shadowing. So what is that doing for us? Well, grazing gives us texture, and it gives us more of a contrast and the ability to kind of see what's going on. You'll see this kind of technique a lot in hospitality applications, in restaurants. It's great for doing on surfaces like brick walls, stucco, stone walls like this. Anything that has a texture, you can really evoke some drama in the space by presenting it with a grazing application. And in the middle, it's kind of a combination of grazing and washing. And when you're far back like this, you're washing that surface out. You want to illuminate it evenly. If there was a sign here on this wall that you were trying to light, you would more than likely light it with a washing application rather than getting up close and grazing that sign, because you might throw shadows. If there was a logo that was there that had raised letters, the shadows would wreak havoc and it would make the sign difficult to read. So I would not recommend lighting signage with a grazing technique. I would recommend it with a washing technique. So that's the general overview of the two concepts of lighting a wall. There's other ways of doing things. There's, when you've got a right material, you can do rear projection, and I'll show kind of an example of that later. But this is generally speaking the choices we usually make when we're looking at lighting a facade. So here's an example, this picture on the left of kind of a bas relief, and this is Ballpark Village in St. Louis. This is by Busch Stadium where the Cardinals play. And so this is being lit from below right here. And you can see the shadows that are showing up on here and the texturing that occurs on this. It's kind of interesting. It looks almost ancient Egyptian when you're looking at this. So you realize, no, I'm looking at a baseball diamond here. And but it's a really interesting approach. The way they've done this is set back into the building surface. So how do we do that? Now, linear, of course, I've got a run of fixtures that run along here that are hidden below. And typically when we're grazing and washing with linear fixtures, we don't want to see the fixture. It's not decorative. It's functional. And it's usually hidden in a cove or in some kind of a recess. Um, Sometimes you do see them. Sometimes this can be done also using wall mount arms that stand off from the wall where you don't have a recess in which to hide the fixture. So that's very common. And really what's critical on the grazing technique is what is the beam angle of the fixture that I'm working with, and what is the setback of that fixture, i.e. the distance from the wall to the fixture. So again, this is a profile view of the end of a fixture. This goes into the z-axis here as far as long as the wall is. So our fixtures that are the linear fixtures, which are our Strobe fixtures, come in a variety of different optical packages. So the narrowest we do is a 9° by a 9°. So the first number is always the thickness of the plane of light that it's creating. There's just a thin plane of light that's shooting up off this row of fixtures. The first number is the thickness of that plane. Second number is the width of that plane. So a 9 by 9 here versus a 9 by 29. Oops, wrong one. 9 by 29. You can see this beam starts to get a little wider. Here it's a 9 by 59. So that's really wide. Well, why do I want different widths of that? Typically, it's based on how far you are throwing and how much viewing there will be close to the fixture. So with a really narrow 9 by 9, the first 10 inches or so above the fixture, you may see some color separation. You may see some individual beams from these sources that are basically an inch to an inch and a half apart. And the blending will come together and it'll become a blended plane a little bit higher. So for a shorter throw, we will often use a wider width on that surface just to blend it a little bit earlier. This is all examples from shooting from below. You can light from the top just as much as from below. But generally speaking, the narrower width is what we're going to use for a taller surface. Also, the wider width in the thickness of that plane would apply for a shorter wall. So I don't need something quite as narrow to throw quite as tall. I mean, this is throwing 40 feet or so, so that's going to be a really narrow fixture. If I were to have something that was only 10 or 12 feet tall, I'd probably use a 15° because that's going to give me a better coverage. It's going to also let me put the fixture a little further away from the wall. Any questions about that? I'm not following and rereading what's up here because that's somebody else's copy. I'm just telling you what the pictures are showing us here. Yeah. Okay, so here's a little image of a mural wall that's in Omaha, XR Bend Village. XR Bend is Nebraska backwards, from those of you not from Iowa and Nebraska. So they were being clever here. But the result here is a graze that's being done from part way off the ground, and it's covering the top, covering all the way up here, which is, I'm going to guess that's about 30 or 40 feet off the ground from one row of fixtures here. Now, this is really colorful. It really reads well with this lighting, but it's just an example of what you can do with grazing. Just from one side, there's no light up here. It's only from down here. This little beam of white you're seeing is probably an overhang that's being lit by these fixtures down here. So here it is, lighting from below. Here's our profile view. You can see it's more intense down at the bottom and it drops off. This is physics, folks. You can't just throw a light, light up the surface here from down here without it spilling onto the other surfaces. And it's the same thing backwards. From the top, you're going to have more intensity at the top than you are at the bottom. Our objective in here is to try to make it as even as possible in illumination. So again, textured surface maximizes shadows. It creates that contrast, that drama we're talking about. It maximizes the depth and texture of the surface. And it, again, our goal is to light it uniformly. And you can see, yeah, it's a little brighter at the bottom. We can't help that. But it's not so much brighter that it detracts from lighting the entire surface. And you can see here, there's texture lines visible. Those are probably courses of cinder block, I'm guessing, that run across here. So that's what we're looking at there. This thing here, maximize throw with increased setback. So what we're talking about is how far away from the wall is this fixture going to be? And the further away it is, the better angle you have to hit the farther points on that wall. So that's why we use a little wider fixture, more setback to get that to light the top of the wall, assuming we're going from the bottom. I will say this. A mock-up with grazing is always a very useful thing because it'll help you determine where the fixtures get mounted. If you don't specify that and the contractor puts them right up against the wall and you've only got a short wall, it's not going to have as a dramatic effect as if you can get that back to 6 inches off of a 10-foot wall. But once you start, getting to really tall walls, that becomes even more critical. So here's some examples. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I want you to look at this over here on the side and then the photometric rendering here. And you can see this is fairly even. This is a 12-inch setback. It's a 20-foot tall wall. These are really large blocks. So this is being lit with a 12-inch setback, and it's lighting it rather evenly. It takes at least a factor 2 or 3 in foot candles before our eyes will recognize a big difference there. Now look at this with a 1-inch setback. See how bright it is at the bottom, and it's not casting a lot of light up here on the top end of the wall. So, and this shows it in the photometric very well as well. Here's with a 4-inch setback from the top. Again, that's kind of in between. It's doing a better job, but not quite as even. And maybe you want that look. Maybe you want that to fade off as it goes further down the wall. Maybe you don't want a fully lit wall. All these techniques with the fixtures that close are going to show that texture. And then here's another one. We're actually 5 feet back, and we're just kind of blasting it with a whole bunch of elliptical pars here that are creating a nice, even, very uniform distribution. And you look at the picture, yeah, that's really uniform, but it's not going to have quite the drama. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want a lighted mural or something with not as much drama. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. Here's an example shot. The texture of the block on this Gothic style church really pops out nicely. And they've done an additional thing here in that they've put cool color temperature on the columns here, and within between the columns here, they're using a warm color temperature. So they've given even more texture with a warm, cool treatment there. And this you can also see, the setback here, this column, it's not really a column, it's a pilaster, I guess they refer to that. It's got a little step there, and then there's a dark area about 10 feet off the ground where it's casting the shadow. So the fixture that's lighting that is actually more of a spotlight. I don't know if it could be a short linear, like a 2 feet length of linear, or it could be a spotlight. But not a lot of it's bleeding off into the background. So this is a nice tight focus what they've done with this. I like this treatment a lot. Now here's another building, and this is unfortunately at dusk, so you can't really see it as well. And what they're doing is they're actually rear lighting this frosted glass panel here. And they're doing it from below and above. Actually, I'm sorry, it's just from below. What you're seeing above, this glow at the top of that white space over the 1917 address, is just bouncing off the top of that interior light box that they have this frosted glass in. So they're lighting from the rear. The 1917, those stainless steel letters are on the front of that. So that will read as dark shadow as it gets darker. During the day, they probably wouldn't even have this on, and you'll just see the 1917 on that white background. But at dusk, it kind of gets mixed together. The same linear fixtures are actually lighting up this little bit of overhang on this crown up here. Those fixtures are located hidden down below here, and they're narrow fixtures. They're not grazing the windows, but it's really similar kind of treatment in that they're aimed straight up, but it's just bouncing off of this under surface, that little ceiling underneath there. So that's just a different technique. It's not really lighting a facade, but it's contributing to the facade of the entire building. And I have reached the end of my program. So if there are any questions.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. I definitely learned something, and it really is, to me, it looks like a work of art in itself. Just the whole different view you can get at night with facade lighting. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, great. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate listeting to me. And I still don't think I'm an industry expert, but Kent can take over and show you a real industry expert.
Yeah,
Take it away,
thanks
Kent.
for joining. Have a great trip.
Thank you all.
With that, I'm going to let Kent take over, and he's going to be reviewing the Solaris Urban Luxe today with us. And we'll give him a minute to get all set up here. Looks like he's ready to go. And so I'll let you take it away, Kent.
Yeah, so like Tim, I'm in Southern California. I'm a little bit further east, though. I'm in a little town called Wrightwood up in the mountains, enjoying a much cooler day. So yeah, much like Tim, been in the business just about as long as he has, and I suspect I'm not much of an industry expert either. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So one of the things we'd like to talk about today is Urban Luxe. There's a rather large number of them up in the Bay Area as we speak right now, as they light all of the tunnel facades in and around the Bay Area. We've lived many things outdoors, from the ocean and ocean applications. This happens to be a lighthouse, and like Tim mentioned earlier, this application here is more of a wall wash effect than we would have in other places, but we can do colors as well. RGBW, we can do RGBA. Yeah, just a lot of different ways to light things. This whole tower here is lit directly from the sides, from all four corners. You can see the lights kind of back here on the edges in the corners, and there's another set right here behind them. But yeah, let's see here. Another way to light a building, aside from washing it, is actually put some lights on the building. That's more of a direct view application. That's something that we do a lot with some of our other linear products like Floppy Flex. So here, yeah, we can light bridges, just throw little accent lights. Then we have some little uplights around these columns and stuff. But if you line things with the light like that, it gives it more of a defined look, and it really makes it pop out at night. Yeah, it's a very beautiful, it's a very, very clean look. You can use them outside on buildings, or you can use them inside. These work really great as under cabinet lighting, toe kick lighting. It's an LED neon product. So the nice thing about that is you don't see the individual pixels like you do in a tape. So it gives you a much more even and beautiful look. Again, being lit from the bottom, giving you a shadow kind of up the wall, and it shows off some of the texture here as well. Again, this can all be done in color as well as whatever specific whites you're looking for. This happens to be a nightclub in somebody's basement here in Southern California. They wanted a look where they could change the lights on the ceiling. So they came up with these geometrical designs, and we helped them get that all specced out as well. We got some stair lighting over here. And then we also do signage with it. So like there's a big market in Florida, the Southgate Shopping Center. This has actually been seen in films in the past. large scale applications like this, you can see this design from a long way away. So you're branding that mall for them and giving them great visibility from great distance, and it's going to make people come over and take a look. Yeah, again, we did a Krispy Kreme donut application. In this application, they wanted it to look like actual real neon. So we built in these little breaks in the corners as neon actually does, but this is all just an LED fixture in different colors. This sign is still neon. You look through that sign during the day and you want to see all the actual neon look behind it, but the outside of the building is all LED. And again, cove lights, nice linear applications. It gives you that kind of that pop that you might be looking for. Yeah. So that's some of the different applications that we can do. Let's see if we can make this stop real quick. And then we're going to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the tunnel facades from, you guys can see this bridge, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Oh, yeah, giddy up.
Yeah.
So this is the Yerba Buena tunnel, as I understand it. And again, all washes. And in this case, the nice thing about the architecture here is it helps create these hard lines that you see here, because these are all at different levels. So if the lights are mounted up underneath it, you can wash this wall without the light spilling over onto the red. And the red can wash without spilling on over here. So it comes down to fixture placement, gives you that ability to get some separation in what you're looking at. A much cleaner look in my mind. And then, yeah, you can do, change it with the seasons, change it with Susan Komen is doing an event. So you want everything to be pink, or St. Patrick's Day. And that, I think, is what is happening with these tunnel facades up in San Francisco. So, so yeah, that's kind of some different ways you could do some facade lighting with some of the stuff that we have and some of the stuff that Tim has.
Great. Thanks, Kent. Yeah, I definitely have seen them, and I know everyone in the Bay has driven through either the Alameda, the tunnel, or the tube, or over the Bay Bridge, and the different themes and seasons. And I've seen pictures all over Instagram. So just people are loving it and taking pictures. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we let Kent go? Okay.
Okay.
Well,
thank
you so much for your time. We appreciate it. So,
take care.
Before we close out, guys, I just want to remind you that we have our next Lights On at 3 on September 3rd, and the theme is going to be Beauty Beyond Sunset, and we're going to talk about elevating your residential landscape lighting. So, we look forward to seeing you all at the next session, and you should be seeing your invite soon. And thank you, and I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Take care.